Hi, Brooke. Welcome to Owners Club Member Spotlight.
Hi, thanks, Maeve. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I can't wait to learn about you, your business, and all of it today. So we're going to dive in, and I'd love for you to tell everyone, what does your business do? And what is your
We
business?
are
Tell us the name and everything.
we are Clarity HR Consulting, Human Resources Consulting. So we offer human resources consulting to a variety of businesses all over the country. We used to specialize in small businesses, but over the last couple of years, we've really grown into the medium business size space, and then we're breaking into the large business space right now, which is fantastic. So we work with a huge variety of businesses, all different industries, different employee size, and it is so much fun. Our day is always different. And part of the reason we started this is just because, like I said, we start with small businesses. And I came from a corporate HR world where I didn't really get to affect a lot of change, which, that's kind of corporate world. It's very black and white and policy driven. But I liked working with humans, which is really what the heart of HR is. And so I can go into that a little bit later, but basically we wanted to service small businesses who really needed that help when it came to compliance and employment laws, but really needing help learning how to develop their people. And that's what we specialize in.
Amazing. And who from either the small business side and the big business side, who are you normally working with on that other side there?
On the large business side,
Yeah, let's go into both. So, like, who on the large business side is usually your partner, and then who on the small business side is, I assume maybe the small business side might be like the founder or the CEO.
right, yeah, the owner. So our main points of contact inside of business on a small business would be an owner. Usually it's an owner. Sometimes it's a CEO or COO. At that point, they don't always have that, so it could just be an operations specialist. And then when we move into the large business space or even medium size, we could be working with internal HR because at that point they usually have an HR department, even if it's a couple of people. And we'll work with that whole department. They can be our point of contact. We actually do HR coaching for HR professionals who just want to level up or maybe need more experience in a certain area of HR. And then we also work with COOs or CFOs. Those are our two main points of contact. Those are usually the people that reach out to us if they have questions or need fractional HR work done. Those are the people we hear from.
Amazing. And then what does it look like actually to bring a fractional HR person? Are you typically along for the journey of many years? Are you in like firefighting mode for an organization? What does it look like in terms of like hours spent with each client?
Yeah, it varies. A lot of times we get calls is because there is a fire, there's some sort of pain, something happened, and they're just like, please help put out the fire. But we also get the calls where they're trying to be proactive, like they want to get ready to sell, or they're going through a lot of transition, or they're trying to grow really quickly, and they just need to know what they don't know. And so that's a great space for us to come in and just offer an analysis, which is something that we specialize in. We actually can come into a business and we can give them a lot of information in a short amount of time, present all of the education surrounding it. What's the law say? What's the best practice? And what's our recommendations? What's the priority and what's not? A lot of confusion around employment laws, whether it's state or federal. And what we love to do is bring clarity. We like to be able to help people understand what is the truth, what are things that you have to do and why, and what are things that you can maybe not have to put at the forefront, like what's the actual priority in helping people understand the difference.
Amazing. And what does my last question on just the business as is right now is, what does the current team composition internally look like at Clarity HR?
Yeah, so we're growing. Right now, I have two senior consultants who are fabulous, and so they work primarily with all of our clients. They're the face. They'll be the ones in the meetings and kind of just helping bring out the ideas and strategize. And then we also have a person on our team who's primarily responsible for research. Research is a lot of HR right now because we are national. We need to keep up with every single state, all the federal laws, and so there's a lot of changes, and there's a lot to keep up with. So we have one person on our team who does that. We have another person on our team who helps with all of our marketing, our sales, our website, social media. We have an assistant, which is almost like a generalist role in the HR sphere. But that person on our team basically assists all of the senior consultants, make sure that they get what they need, and does a lot of the communications. And then we have another person on our team who's in charge of all of our operational processes. So they're making sure that everybody's documents are up to date, making sure that everybody's getting information the way that they need it, and then just kind of keeping our team cohesive.
I love it. Okay, cool. And you kind of led me into the next question is what do you have planned next? Where do you see 2024 going with either the team or clients? I know you're trying to attract and are attracting bigger clients. What do you see next?
Yeah, so this last year, what we learned is, I think in as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, we are smaller and it allows us to pivot really quickly. It allows us to adjust our business model and really adjust to the market and what the needs are, which is fantastic. And so over the last year, we realized that there's a really big need for just audits and analysis. Previously, we were specializing in creating documentation, the infrastructure that small businesses need, creating handbooks, creating job descriptions, which is still very crucial to a small business. But the medium, large businesses typically already have those items. They already have those things.
Yeah,
They have structure. They have an org chart. But what they don't know is it functional? Is it working? Is it
yeah.
still up to date? Is it compliant? And because things change so rapidly in the employment space, a lot of times it's not. And so what we realized this last year is that a lot of businesses need the expertise to come in and just say, hey, here's what we found. Here's what you maybe didn't know. Here's some things you maybe did know and why it's important to address it. And then giving them those recommendations. We give them short-term wins, like quick wins. Here's what you can get done in 3 months. That'll really cut out a lot of your liability. It'll really bring communication expectations to your team. And then we give them long-term strategy solutions too, that they as a team can decide if they want to implement. And they can keep us on to help implement those things, or they can do it internally. So pretty much that audit is a one-time project. We can give them a lot of information. We've been able to save companies a lot of heartache and headache by giving them the information. And then they get to choose if they want to help us stay on to help with that or not.
That is amazing because I feel like so often you have processes of getting a smaller company from 0 to 1 and then 1 to 2. And then sometimes those processes from the early days of a company that no longer even serve them are still in place, but they're just
Yeah,
doing it because they've always done it. And so actually
right.
auditing, looking back, can save you a lot of time if you just actually take the minute to pause and be like, is this a process because it's the way we've always done it, or is it a process because it actually makes sense for us right now?
100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. So, and their team too. I mean, a lot of roles, have to shift as you grow as a company, and right down to your organizational structure. And having that neutral third party perspective can be really helpful because when you're in it as a business owner, it can be really hard to see.
yeah.
And you may kind of know something's going on, but putting your finger on it can be really difficult. So that's a great space for us to help business owners.
That's amazing. Okay. So I'd love for you to walk me through how did you get into HR in this space in the beginning? How did you stumble upon it? What have you done in past lives in your career? How did it all start?
So let's see, going back, I grew up in the retail space. So I got into retail in high school and I worked for Macy's, I worked for American Eagle, I worked for some internet companies and I did some sales. But for the most part, I was in retail. And so I got to be a temporary seasonal associate folding a ton of jeans for American Eagle, and I worked my way up to being a store manager, and then also assisting them with like district trainings eventually. And I loved it. I absolutely loved the space. I liked the work, but mostly I liked people. I liked being a supervisor. I liked being a manager. I liked developing others. And it was a fantastic experience. And so I kind of got to the point in my career in retail where if I wanted to go any further, I needed to get a degree or a
Yeah.
bachelor's in business. And so that's when I decided, hey, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get my bachelor's, and that way I have more options available. So I went to school, and the degree that I took was actually a business management and a human resources degree. And I was like, oh, HR, that's whatever. I'm going for the business side of the degree. But as I got into the classes, when we got to the HR classes, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. I loved it. I couldn't get enough. I was so fascinated by people and the way they think and what motivates them and how to create a business that thrives and how people are so crucial to that. And I just like came alive. I don't know any other way to describe it. And so I was like taking my professors out to lunch and like, tell me, how do you make a career out of this? And what do those options look like? And I knew HR from retail, where it was very corporate. You never talk to them unless it was like you were in trouble or you're getting fired or
Yeah.
something. And so all of these different components, the thing I loved about the true heart of HR was that it's this beautiful blend of boundaries and structure, but also with people and their needs. And
Yeah.
I had not seen HR done that way before. And that was the real purpose of it. That was what it was meant to be. So I really loved the idea of getting into that field. At once upon a time, I wanted to be a police officer. And so I actually started taking criminal justice classes like right out of high school.
So
And
cool.
then I had some life changes and I was a single mom. And so I was like, no, I don't think I want to, I can't be a police officer and be a single mom. And so I kind of put that on the shelf, but I do have a heart for like this need to bring justice or safety to situations. So I like that part.
Yeah.
And then I had also thought about being a therapist at one point, which did not last. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I could do that job. But I liked listening to people and I liked understanding people. So HR is kind of this blend of a lot of different things that I already liked. And I just totally found my passion in it. So I got a job right out of school in retail doing HR.
Oh,
And
cool.
so I was like, perfect. I can blend all my past experience in retail with this new thing that I love. And it was just, it was not at all what I thought it was going to be. Um, like naive, excited, all that kind of stuff. But the job was so corporate. It was so corporate. Of course it was.
Yeah.
And I realized really quickly I had very little opportunity to exact any kind of real change. I had very narrow guardrails that I had to stay within at all times. It left just very little opportunity to make change. And so I loved my team. There was a couple hundred employees there that I got to oversee. So I got a lot of experience in HR and policy and procedures. But as the company that I was working for changed, I actually became the HR and the ops manager because they were combining roles. And so I was working like 80-hour work weeks at the time. I was
Wow.
salaried, of course. And yeah, I was exhausted. I was exhausted and I had 3 kids. So my
Oh my
husband and I had,
Lord.
we had 2 nannies. And I was like, why am I doing this? I'm killing myself for this job. And I barely see my kids. I'm not getting a lot done, but I really felt at the time, and I knew it was the right thing to do. I needed to stay. I needed the experience. I really cared about my team. I didn't want to leave them hanging with no support system. And so I stayed for quite a while in that role and finally felt like I had gotten what I needed. I had done what I set out to do as much as possible. And then I took some time off to figure out what is next. So that was kind of a little bit of the backstory to how I got to a place where I needed to really figure out what's next. I knew I had to go back to work. Like financially, that was something that me and my husband knew we needed to do. And I actually really like working.
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't think I'm built to be a stay-at-home mom, which is okay. And I've had a whole journey for that. But I got to take kind of a pause staying at home for a while and figuring out what I wanted to do with my life and my career. I realized I liked HR. HR was not the problem. It was the place I was doing HR that was the issue.
Yeah.
And as I was home figuring this out, I had some friends who were starting some businesses in the area. Sam from Theory Coffee, he was
Yep.
one of them. And he was taking his business from, like doing markets and having a coffee cart to opening his first location.
Wow.
And so I know I got to be on the journey with him and help him build his first handbook and help him build job descriptions. And I'm just sitting on my couch at home, stay at home mom. And I'm like, this is so fun. I love this. And I'm just doing it for kicks because I just was passionate and I wanted to see him and his team set up for success. And then he was like, hey, so-and-so has some questions. Can they talk to you? And I was like, sure. So I basically started consulting from my couch,
Oh, I love it.
totally on accident. And it was Sam and his wife, who's a really good friend too. They were like, you should think about starting a consulting business for HR. And my immediate response was like, oh, that's not a thing. Like, there is no such thing. Like, if you're HR, you're internal, you're a
Yeah.
manager, you work for a company. But I decided, what the heck, I'll go check it out. And so I talked to a business coach. I got some really wise counsel from him and decided to give it a shot. So that's what led me to start Brooke Winter HR Consulting, which a couple years ago became Clarity HR Consulting.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I love that story because you've even opened up my eyes for the time that I've known you of I've always worked at my background is mainly from hypergrowth startups and HR was either like doing mass layoffs or like putting out an absolute fire. But then other than that, they were kind of in the background. And I think it's because there were those strict guardrails on them for what they could actually produce. But you've opened my
Yeah,
eyes and your view of consulting, which is unique to you, is actually listening and actually problem solving and all of these things that are so much more than I think what some people might misconceive HR to be. Like it's not by any means just this one thing. It's helping you with regulations. It's helping you problem solve, structure properly, make sure your resources are utilized well. And a
yeah,
quote that we always say at Owners Club is like, business is easy, but people are what makes it challenging and interesting. Where it's like the actual like you can basically figure out business in a formulaic way, whereas like people you could think you have your team figured out one day and the next day it is completely up in arms and a mess. And so it's like you're never going to fully have a grasp on your people.
yeah.
And so
It's
with
true.
HR and
People,
proper help, yeah.
yeah, yeah. People are gray areas.
Yeah.
A lot of HR tries to make everything black and white. It's
Yeah.
slap a policy on it, just write them up, fire them, hire them. It sounds so simple, and that's not reality. It's just not.
Yeah.
People have needs and desires and different motivations, and tapping into that is messy. It is hard. It's way more complicated. And I think part of the reason why HR has stayed within the traditional HR realm is because it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder to operate in the gray,
Yeah.
um, but it's worth it. It's so worth it. And that's the space that we have tried to occupy, is doing things differently. Being okay getting into the mess, being okay with the complexity, holding the tension, not running away from it, and finding out how do we actually bring workplaces to a place where they're thriving, where
Yeah.
it's not us versus them. It's not the employer versus the employee. It's actually we're a team. And how do we make that happen?
Yeah. It's amazing because we have, as you know, like within our owner's manual framework, we have like the scrappiest way where you can mend a people department together as like a solo entrepreneur and get collaborators, etc. But like it completely breaks when you hit probably like $1 million in revenue because it's just not
Mm,
meant for like people are not meant to be put in a formula. We put them in it to like mend for the first million, and then it's like we need someone like Brooke or we need someone who can actually analyze and focus on this problem because if you don't have if you're not attracting good talent and retaining them, it's going to be really challenging to meet any of your business goals. Like you are so deeply tied to actually like a company thriving and surviving.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we look for businesses that are looking for a partner.
Yeah.
One of the issues I see in a lot of businesses is that HR professionals are actually fantastic. Their department is crushing it, but the executive leadership at the top doesn't want to give them a seat at the table,
Yeah.
doesn't want to allow them to partner to help them accomplish their goals. They see HR as a necessary evil in their business, not as a strategic partner, which is not uncommon.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to break, and change, and so part of what we try to do is just show, here's why it matters, and here's why allowing them to be at the table, giving them that seat, can radically change your business.
Yeah.
They're not just a necessary evil trying to keep, compliance, compliance, compliance. They actually care about your people, and while you're innovating and while you're working on your product and your marketing, they're keeping their finger on the pulse of your team, which is so necessary.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of, it's a multifaceted issue on why HR is the way it is, but we look for companies that are interested in a partnership.
Yeah. Which then is, it's long term. And there are probably many times where the good ones like will come back for help. So then,
Yeah.
since starting and having this path on your own, um, what are some of the biggest learnings? What are the wins? What are the struggles? What have you basically discovered over how long have you been on your own
5
running?
years.
5 years. Okay, so what have like the glaring lessons been in the last 5 years?
Ooh, how long do we have? Oh my gosh. I would say one of the standouts that I can think of right now is just letting things go.
Yeah,
I had such an idea of what this business was going to be and who our market was going to be and what that person would look like and what their needs were. And sometimes I was so focused, I had blinders on to what the actual need was and what the market was actually looking for. And my idea, I needed to let go of that. Like that wasn't, you know, just because I think it's great, if nobody else is needing that, then I need to let it go.
yeah,
So, one of the ways that showed up was in remote work. So, when COVID happened, at the time, I had been completely in person. Like all of my work was within a distance that I could travel to. It was a lot of local or state work. And when COVID happened, everybody went remote, totally shifted things. We got on track with that. We went national. But I started dreaming of a business where I had local branches, where I had consultants in a strategic place in the country that could then offer in person services, versus fully remote.
yeah,
And I was like, no, what sets us apart is our in-person engagement. We're humans. We want to be in person and have those moments. And that was like what I just held on to so tightly. And I had people for months being like, you got to let it go. That's not, people don't need that. They can still feel connected. They can still feel impacted, across a screen, And
yeah,
so I held on to that for a while. And when I finally let it go, I mean, our business just exploded in a very positive way.
yeah,
And so that was a huge learning for me of like, it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't have to look how I thought it was going to look. And it's been amazing. It's been fantastic. We're able to reach clients in areas I never would have before and service beautiful companies with all these passions and strategies that I would have never had access to had I just been so laser focused. I didn't actually see what the true need was.
yeah. Oh, that is amazing. And thank you for sharing that too, because I think that that's something where like when we are so tied, and I feel this way often where I'm like, I'm emotionally tied to this idea of how I think things should look, and it's actually creating more of a burden. And if I just let what comes come and like don't try to tailor everything, it actually like is so much more freeing, where then it probably frees up you in different ways, or you can be so much more strategic in different ways that you hadn't imagined when loosening like your grip on that one idea that we thought would be it.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that people have probably needed you more than ever with like, I mean, the switch to remote work and then the switch back now to this gray area where some people are hybrid, some people like they've hired since COVID people all over. Like, I think that things have probably just become more interesting.
Very interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting. I've worked with some companies too that, the more I learn as a business owner and the more mistakes I make or hangups I have that I have to overcome, it's helped me understand business owners. And so I've watched some business owners go through, situations like COVID where they're like, all of our culture issues would be fixed if we just got everybody back into the office. No more
Yeah.
remote work, no more hybrid. So I can see, I'm like, oh, you're hanging on to your idea, right? Like I can hear it because I'm like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. And the more you hang on to that, it's going to be painful. It's going to be really painful versus shifting your perspective, being okay with it looking like something else, going back to what is the actual goal? What is the mission? Does this actually impact that? How? Why am I feeling like I have to do this? And so helping executives and owners work through those issues and just get curious, ask them questions, trying to understand what their motivations are. Why do they feel like they have to do this? And that's happens with a myriad of issues. We all have our
Yeah.
hangups. We all have things that we need to overcome. And sometimes having just that other voice in there to help you just troubleshoot it and be real can make all the difference.
I absolutely love that. I think that that's something where I now know it, but I consistently have to remind myself of that because it just does not come naturally to me. What has been since starting like the biggest win for you, or what was that moment where it was like, holy shit?
Hmm. I don't think I've ever been asked that question before. Yeah, I had one of those aha moments not that long ago, actually, and it was with my team.
Oh,
So
cool.
I'm a big believer in practice what you preach. So if I'm going to go all in on a recommendation to a client, like I'm going to do it with some conviction. And usually it comes down to would I do this for my own team? Is you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
so my team gets to be my guinea pig for a lot of things. And they're fantastic. I call them the dream team because they're absolutely incredible. And so we had a team get together in person. I got everybody to come to one location because my team is all over the place. And we got to be together for the day. And we had such a great day. And I was just having the best time watching them all connect and watching them all talk to each other and converse and laugh. And like, it was just so much fun. And then at the end of the day, we were playing this question game and everybody's going around and you had to pick a card and everybody had to answer what they thought for you. And it was just really fun. And it got to the end, it was the last question. Of course, it landed on me. And the question I had asked my team was, if you could prescribe me one thing, what would it be?
Oh, interesting.
Which is very interesting to put your team
Yeah.
in that position
Yeah,
to
they're in
tell
the hot
tell
seat.
you. And I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be good. And it was it blew me away. Like the things that they prescribed to me were so telling, and it really got me. They were like, hey, we want to see you be kinder to yourself. We want to see you take more time for yourself. We want to see you ask for help more often. Things that were just so kind and said so
Yeah.
much about. They were like, they kept saying, we see how hard you work for us. We see how much you care for us. You take, like, they kept reiterating all of these beautiful things, but they're like, but we actually want to see you take your own medicine. Like, you're always telling us, like, what do we need? And, oh, take this time and do that. And we want to see you do that for you. So I was like, holy crap. I had one of those moments where I was like, wow, I have some growth. I have some growth to do in this area. But number one, I built a team that trusted me enough that they could share that honest feedback with me,
Yeah.
which was awesome. And second
Yeah.
of all, the fact that they recognize that their leader actually has some growth to do and willing to I'm just like, so many things about that moment was just like, wow, I'm actually building exactly what I set out to build. I'm building a team that is honest, truthful, collaborative, kind, honest, clear, like all of these things that I'm like, these are the kind of teams that I want to build across all the companies, not just mine. And seeing that work itself out in such a beautiful way was like, okay, we're doing it. We're actually doing this thing, which is awesome.
Yeah, and that their ability to give you such raw and honest feedback, like you said, I mean, it takes a certain type of leader to A, want that, and B, actually receive like tangible feedback. But then you also probably had this moment where you realize that your clients are in incredible hands. Because if they can give you that feedback, they are probably doing an incredible job with anyone that they are working with, which has to be surreal because there's that relinquish of control when you entrust an employee to run a consulting job. And it's hard, but yeah. I mean, that's amazing too because so often I think I have this thought, and it's what I was really looking for actually in the role that I'm currently in, where it's like, if I'm going to spend 8 to 10 hours with people that I work with a day, like I want to really like those people and I want to respect the leader and I want to like love the team. And at the end of the day, like I would love even a team dynamic where it can just be like completely candid, like there's no filters, like that's where I work best in finding that, which it sounds like your team also has that too, it just then like you don't worry about all the little things. Like it then allows you to actually grow together and propel forward and help the most. And if they're happy,
Yeah,
it reflects on how they show up to work every day and how they show up for clients. Like it's such a ripple effect to have that. It's
yeah.
like amazing to hear that your team is able to it's like a signal for so many things, I think.
Yeah, it was just a great indication that we're on the right track. Like that we
Yeah.
created this space. I'm like, okay, like of course we struggle. Of course we have issues. We're not a perfect team. Like that's not ever going to happen for anybody. But the fact
Yeah.
is like, when I grew from just Brooke Winter Consulting to Clarity HR, I had so many people say, "But how are you going to replicate you?" But how are
Yeah.
you're the consultant, so like how are you going to grow if you are the business? And I had to really think about that. And I came back to the conclusion I'm not looking to make clones of myself. That's not what's needed. Like everybody brings their own gifting, their own experience, their own style. And as long as we have a solid foundation on what our mission and our values are as a company, then they get to be them.
Yeah.
They get to work with clients in a way that I don't, and I have certain clients that I'm the best fit for. And there's also clients that I'm not the best fit for. And that's actually okay. And so I think just releasing them from feeling like they have to be me was step one. Like, and
Yeah.
just giving them the freedom, changing the name from Brooke Winter Consulting to Clarity, so that when they walked into the room, people weren't expecting Brooke. Like, no, that doesn't feel good to anybody. So there were certain things that I wanted to accomplish in setting my team up for success, and I still have a lot. I still have a lot of growth. Sometimes my team's like, "Hey, Brooke, I really could use more info on this," or "Hey, Brooke, I really could have used like a little bit of more time on this project." Like, of course, I'm not a perfect leader, but I want to create space where they can tell me that because I'm not going to grow if they can't give me feedback. Um,
Yeah.
how the heck is that going to happen? So I love that they're brave enough to do that. I love that we have a space where they can do that. Um, and I love when I see other leaders, create that same space and ask for feedback and really take it seriously and deliver.
I absolutely love that. Yeah. Okay. So this leads me to my next question for you, where as you guys are growing together as a team, when do you, is there a time that you have really felt clarity up level? Like, has there been a moment where it's like, oh, we just reached another level of this business?
Yeah, there's been a couple of level ups.
Yeah.
I mean, the first one was when we went from local California to national, during the COVID season. That was huge. That was a totally was like, oh gosh, it's like you're on the roller coaster and you're going up, 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 and you're like, oh, okay, here we go. It's coming and it's going to open up a lot of doors. You just don't know what the heck is going to happen next.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge level up. That was a huge, yes, we're doing this. Let's figure it out. We're kind of building the plane as it's flying, so to speak. I mean, as a lot of companies were during COVID. And it paid off. It paid off really big, because, like you said earlier, a lot of companies needed help. It was
Yeah.
the Wild West. Things were coming out felt like daily, and how to deal with all the mandates and things. It was complicated, and a lot of businesses were needing that help. And so I'm glad we made that pivot, huge pivot. Um, Another moment where I felt like we leveled up is we did an analysis at the beginning of this year for the largest company we had worked with at the time, and we knew it was going to be a huge project, but we didn't know how big. Like a lot of times you have an idea of what it could entail. You have a pretty good structure going in, but you have to adjust. Like you can't
Hmm.
possibly know every single detail. So that was massive. That was a massive project for us. It was over 800 employees that worked at
Wow.
this company. They were a global organization. And we were taking our analysis projects that we'd done for like medium to large size businesses and doing that for this large company. And so it really stretched our entire team, but the results were phenomenal. The organization, I mean, there's so much that happened, but they were very, very excited with the results. They found tremendous value in it. And had we said no, and been like, I don't know if we're ready for that. The fact that we said yes, and I had a team that was willing to just figure it out because we knew we had the skills, we knew that we had the expertise. We just had never done something like that before. So we said yes, we figured it out together. And since then, that has opened up a lot of doors into other large companies. We've gotten referrals from that. I mean, it's been an incredible experience that really did level us up. Just saying yes and working together as a team to figure it out.
Oh my God, that is amazing. Congratulations. I mean, just a project of that scale and then making that much of an impact on 800 plus employees and their daily
Yes.
work is like, that is absolutely amazing. And it's what's interesting to me is both of your level up moments that you've mentioned have been external things that you either rise to the occasion of or probably miss out on a great opportunity. And so that like courage to just rise to the occasion and trust yourself and trust your team is the only way that you are going to be able to level up, especially as an entrepreneur, is you just kind of have to rise to the occasion. Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what's going to be thrown at you next, but you just go there with your skill set and like an open mind. So that's amazing. Um, have there been critical players for you in moments that helped you scale, or what does your own support system look like?
Mm. So it's developed over the years, for sure. I'd say the number one person's been my husband. He has been incredibly supportive of my dream, of my passion, of doing this. When I first started out, I was making no money. Like there's so much that
Yeah.
goes into building a business that's not sexy. It's
Mm.
it's it's not glamorous. And he 100% had my back every single. He knew even I think before I did that this was something great and big and needed. And so he just was like, you got this. Like you can do this. Like I believe in you. So he has been fantastic every step of the way. I think the second most important person would be my business coach, Kirk from Icon Coaching. He has been instrumental. He has pushed me and challenged me in ways that nobody else could because he is that neutral third party who's outside. And when you
Yeah.
talk to friends and family, they're always so supportive. And he sometimes is like, no, actually, that was not great. Like, what are you gonna do? Being real, saying things to me that I needed to hear. And he's been my coach the entire time. And so every time I've leveled up, he's been right there to level up with me, or he's been pushing me to level up. So I think that's critical, is finding someone who has been there, who's done it, who has the expertise, who can be your coach, who's not all talk, who's actually
Yeah.
done the work, is so critical. And then choosing the right friends.
Yeah.
It's been, I would say, as a woman, that's been a struggle to find other women in business who are juggling kids, who are juggling like a marriage and household responsibilities and a team and all of the things. Like I definitely seek those people out now because I feel like they can understand on a level that maybe sometimes other people can't, and that's not meant to be a dig or anything. But it's like talking to like a single friend when you're married. It's just
Yeah.
different. Like you can have a lot in common with that person, but there's certain things that they may not be able to get because they haven't experienced it yet. And so that's not a negative. It just meant that I actually had to go seek out those people and find those relationships, and not lose the other beautiful relationships I had, but just kind of add a little bit more to the group. And so I have some fantastic friends. I have some other great business owners that I connect with. Owners Club has been great for that. Just hearing people share in their struggles and their wins, and just knowing you're not alone is so crucial. As an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, I can't stress it enough. It can get very lonely, until you realize that it's actually doesn't have to be lonely.
Yeah.
And a lot of other people are out there rooting for you and right there with you to help you. So I would say that's what a lot of my circles look like.
That's amazing. Yeah, and it's really cool to hear where it's like the three magic ingredients is like support at home is pivotal. A coaching and someone to tell you when you're wrong and you can ask for help is huge. And then the community piece is really interesting because I think it's something that's ever evolving where it's like I've even had a friend suit you at one point in life and might not suit you in the next, but having some type of community is just like it's a make or a break for like mental health and sanity and someone to bounce ideas off of and having also a community that is also of owners is like it's a gift where then you're just not alone despite being the only one at the top of your business. So that's amazing. And I know you mentioned one of your team's feedback was knowing when to ask for help. Have you had to ask for help over the past few months or since? Like what's the area right now that you're looking for help in?
Oh, such a good question. I do struggle with this. Even now, even after my team said that, I have a sticky note up on my mirror that says "Ask for help." Oh my gosh, I feel so dumb sometimes. I'm like, no, I have to ask for help. I have to ask for help. It's just not my bent. It's just not my natural bent. I'm just more of a like, roll up my sleeves and just freaking get it done. And so, asking for help, I have been better over the last couple months just because I have been aware of it. So, like for example, we had a flat tire the other day. I was on the side of the road in the rain, trying to deal with a
Oh
flat
God.
tire. My kids are waiting at school for me. Like it was just one of those days. And my inclination was just like, I'll figure it out. And I was like, wait, I can call my brother-in-law. I can call my dad and I can call my team and have them push that meet. Like all of a sudden I just kind of stopped. I took me completely out of all the scenarios and was like, I actually have a whole bunch of support. I just need to make a quick call. Like so
Yeah.
simple, but I had to stop and think about it, which was great. But I'm still challenging myself to do that. It's hard. I mean, right now, if I were to ask you or anybody else listening to this, what do I need? From a business standpoint, we need leads. We need
Yeah.
more business coming in. It's been a slow year. A lot of businesses are cutting back, going through painful layoffs, reevaluating their own businesses. And so for us as a team, for a business, like we need some more leads. I would love to find some more companies out there that are looking for help, whether they're going through transition and they're cutting, trying to be strategic about what their people operations needs to look like during a leaner time, or companies that are growing, that are finding some pivots in their own way and taking that and growing from it. Like those would be great companies for us too. And because we can work with companies all over the country, like there isn't necessarily a bad referral as far as a business size or industry. Bad referral for us is like a closed-minded um,
Yeah.
business that is not looking for a strategic partnership. And so, if they care about their people and their operations and their relations, like that's a company I want to work with.
I love that. Yeah, we always say, I tell all of my coaching clients, it's like you have to ask for help because you never know who's listening. You never know who I will talk to next throughout my day or who someone else who might have a connection. It's like asking for help I know is a struggle, but then the minute you vocalize what you need, I think so many things then fall into place because people are so willing to help. Like your dad picking up your kids or your team moving the meeting, like they don't mind at all. They're probably like happy to do so. Um, okay, so my last question for you, because I know we're getting to time, is what would you say to business owners out there that on why they should join Owners Club or why you joined Owners Club?
Mm. Yeah, I think it goes back to community, like we were talking about earlier. It can be really lonely. You can spin your wheels on a problem when if you just threw it in an owners club chat, you'd have so many supportive, like really applicable problem solves in a few minutes. And having people that are willing to troubleshoot, that are willing to look at things for you, listen, interact, and just feel like you're not alone. So
Yeah.
I would just highly suggest it. No matter what walk season of business you're in, I think it's just been incredibly helpful for me in that sense.
That's amazing. You've become like the HR expert, so I also have to turn that around and thank you because you have helped, I know, multiple owners club members with like their HR needs and even just we've tried to have a subject matter expert in each area and you really cover HR so holistically in people. So thank you for that.
Oh, thanks. It's my pleasure. I think Young introduced me as like an HR ninja or Sam did or something, and I
Yes.
was just like, oh my gosh, I love it. I'll totally be an HR ninja all day.
You were like holding Owners Club on your back for the HR Ninja Guru needs. So we appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time today. I mean, I have honestly learned so much about your career, but also just the department in general of HR and people. So thank you so much. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Maeve. All right, have a great day.
You too. Bye, Brooke.